take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Paging Neil Matthews. Paging Neil Matthews. We have a new patient for X-ray. Hello, I have paged our host, Neil Matthews. He will be right with you. In the meantime, please find a seat, take a deep breath, and relax. Welcome to Season 19 of Other People's Shoes, called X-Ray. We're exploring what we call sight beyond sight, taking a deep look into the unseen damage and aspects of people's lives. We hope you leave today with encouragement, advice for facing similar challenges, and even a perspective shift. After hearing from our guests, we hope they give you the sight beyond sight. Here's our host, Neil Matthews.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. Hope you haven't been waiting too long in the waiting room. The worst places in the world to wait. So I have a few that come to my mind. First one, obviously the doctor's office, because we're in this kind of X-ray kind of doctor kind of theme. By the way, no medical exams or procedures will be done. No HIPAA violations will be violated. I was thinking about that. The waiting room of the doctor's office, pretty bad. Where would you rank that? Scale of 1 to 10, like 10 worst, 1 best. DMV, that's Department of Motor Vehicle for those here in the United States of America. Waiting in line for a ride at an amusement park. So Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Euro, Disney Tokyo, Disney Australia. They probably don't have those. Australia, they're weird. They don't have anything down there. Waiting in line for the Sydney Opera House. That's a long line I wish I could be in. Probably not going to ever be in. What's another long line that you're like, no, I don't even want to think about the long line of that. It could be very traumatic, long lines. Well, here's the thing is we're here today to maybe dispel or help us work through some of the angst, some of the things that have us maybe locked up inside, some imprisoned. Help me welcome in my new friend from the island of Down Under, Jill. Jill, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Neil. It's so great to be here. Hello, everyone.
Jill, I don't know if you heard, we actually hire voice actresses. I don't know if you knew this. I didn't tell you this in the green room, but we actually hire voice actresses to do our voice work. That gal that you heard at the beginning, her name is Jessica Lewis, actually, is our voice girl for this, our voice woman, maybe. Our voice woman this season. Last season, we had Allie Murphy, and she is from Great Britain. However, she gets confused as being an Aussie all the time, and it's quite funny and comical, and she used to be an airline pilot. So I'm just thinking, Jill, if you ever need maybe some extra coin in the pocket, I might know a guy who could use your voice for some of his things. Just saying.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I would love to do that in any case. I think that would be quite fun, actually.
Full disclosure, my Siri is Australian.
Really? Well, there you go.
I'm not kidding you. And here's the more embarrassing. Here's the most embarrassing story of all time. All right. So picture like 4-year-old me. I know it's hard to believe. I was once 4. I was going to this school, this preschool, so pre-kindergarten or kindergarten, depending on how you want to say it. I had a teacher, and her name was Miss. She was not married, Miss Jackson, and she was from Australia. And I actually wrote her a note, and I said, Miss Jackson, dear Miss Jackson, I want to marry you. Love, Neil. She politely pulled me aside before recess one day, and before we got our goldfish crackers on the steps, we had to sit down and make a cup with our hands, and we'd get goldfish crackers. Anyway, why I remember that, I have no idea. She did pull me aside one day and politely told me that that was never going to happen, that one day God had someone else in mind for me. Now, I am married, 23 years. My wife is not from Australia. She is the queen, though. Her name is Elizabeth. So she's sort of like royalty, which I know you guys are like maybe at odds with the Brits, but, you know, you can work that out. I don't know why I told you that story, except to say I've always been in love maybe with the Australian accent. So thank you for helping me maybe one day get over that. I don't know.
Or make it worse, perhaps. You're welcome.
Yes.
I'm sorry, whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, I just probably made it incredibly awkward. So sorry for that. Nonetheless.
No, not at all. I just don't know whether I'm actually helping you get over it or helping you to be more attached.
I don't know either. We're going to just press forward. You know, I'm trying to dig out of this hole that I'm in. Yeah. Do you guys have backhoes and excavators in Australia? Maybe I could like rent one out?
We do
Okay.
have equipment like that. Yes.
Oh, good. Heavy
Strangely
equipment.
enough, yeah, kangaroos don't do all the work. We
Wow.
actually have buildings, and
I thought the wombats did.
yeah.
Maybe they like dug in the ground. No.
Well, they do, but they only burrow, tunnels. They don't. Yeah.
I'm in a tunnel right now, clearly. So let's help the wombat get me out. Wombat. All right. Well, help us with this, Jill, because I love to lead off every show with this question, and that's this. What style of shoe does Jill love to wear?
I'm a huge fan of Birkenstocks, actually. Love a good, comfortable sandal. Practical, comfortable. I kind of got over the whole high heel thing, the stilettos, when I was working in real estate years ago. Well, even then I would wear them to appointments, but kick them off in between and walk around barefoot. So I'm very much about being comfortable.
Stylish, perhaps. Fergalicious, perhaps.
I guess.
You know, all the things.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
No Barbie feet were harmed in the taping of this episode today.
Yeah, they were during the real estate years, the 10 years in real estate. Certainly, hopefully not in this episode. I don't know if I even own a pair of stilettos anymore. Heels for sure.
Now, I've heard it said ladies wear the heels to make themselves look taller and then to help with their calves, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, there's better ways.
That's kind of what I was thinking. That's what I've heard. I don't know. I've never worn a pair of high heels. We did have a friend of yours. I say friend because I think everyone in Australia is probably your friend because it's just this really small place in comparison to the States.
It's actually not a small place. It's a huge place.
No,
it's
not.
just that
Come
we have
on.
a small population. It's about the same size land mass as the US.
Is it really? Are you guys that big?
Yeah, I actually just shared a map of Australia with the US overlaid today on my Facebook. It's very similar in landmass. We only have just under 27 million in population. It's a huge country, not heavily populated.
I'm going to tell you about my friend because she's going to be your friend now too, because maybe you guys could like cook up, have a cup of coffee on me. Somebody send me the Venmo receipt and I'll take care of you. But her name's Barbara Thomas and she's a sweet lady. And she talked about jandals when she came on. And I still don't know what a jandal is, but she told me all about jandals.
I have no idea.
I'll have to email you the link and you can go listen to Barbara and maybe you could help
Where's
me figure
she
out.
from?
I think she's in Australia. I don't know where. She might be in Sydney. She was once from New Zealand, so don't hold that against her.
Okay.
So.
I don't have a problem with New Zealand people.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Unlike some. Yeah.
I've heard that. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said it like that. See, I know. I might not be all things Australian. Well, sort of. I want to be, maybe. I'm a wannabe Australianer.
It is a bit like the US-Canada thing. It's interesting, isn't it? Just that kind of rivalry, make-believe.
I don't even know what Canada is. Is there such a thing called Canada? I don't even know. They have
there
good maple
are places
syrup
outside of the US, amazingly.
I don't believe you, so that's okay.
Yeah, most Americans don't.
Listen, I've been to the Bahamas. I've been to the DR. I've been to Mexico. I've actually never been to Canada, truly. And I want to go to Winnipeg. That's my goal. One day, Winnipeg. So,
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, now that we're world travelers, we've stamped our passport. I told my wife before we started today, I said, hey, we're going to Australia. And she was like, in your mind, honey, in your mind. There's a lot of bugs down there. I don't want to go there. There's a lot of bugs. I was like, yeah, but there's this really nice lady named Jill, and we're going to find out all about her. And she's like, okay, well, tell Jill I said hello, and here we go. Well, so
and
Jill,
hello, Elizabeth.
Thank you, right? See, there you go. So Jill, help us with this because some people have called me, and I think this is a bird in Australia. Some people have called me a kookaburra, and they have said I'm a little crazy, a little cray-cray. As I come up with these ideas, X-ray, hidden damage, unseen damage. What comes to mind for Jill?
Yeah, well, look, in the work that I do, it's all about your emotional experiences, your traumatic experiences, and the hidden damage is what happens to your physical body over time because of these unhealed parts of ourselves. Now, it could be something that's highly traumatic. It could be that you stubbed your toe and thought you were stupid when you were 5. But all of this content is stored in our physical body, in our subconscious mind. If these things aren't healed over time, this is the absolute starting point of all dis-ease in the body.
So I think it bears to maybe be asked, is there hidden damage in your life that maybe if it went unchecked would perhaps create more damage for you. I'm a nerd in some respects, so I think of it, our bodies perhaps, maybe like a computer hard drive. There's files in it, there's sub-files, and every now and then a virus could come along or the file could get corrupted. That happened to us, by the way. We lost 7 episodes because of a file getting corrupted. It made me mad and it hurt me. Now, granted, I know it's just a file, but there was a lot of work that went into it. There was a lot of content that went into it. There was a lot of people that had to get re-recorded again. That's how I'm equating your analogy, if you're following me. I don't know if you're a big computer person or not.
Yeah, no, for sure. If we look at that analogy, so the subconscious mind would be your hard drive. You need to defrag that hard drive from time to time. It's going to stop working. That's basically what I do in the work that I do is I help people to clean up their subconscious mind, which is their body. Their subconscious mind is stored in their body. Whatever's stored in that body, whatever's occupying space and time in your mind is actually creating your reality. If your reality, if your life is not how you want it to be, then you got to change the slide in the projector. You've got to change that programming on your hard drive. When you do, your life will change immediately. It's really simple. It's not necessarily easy. Anything that's happened in your life that is left unchecked, that is left unbalanced, that is left unresolved, it's fragmentation in your hard drive. It's noise. I like to use the analogy of the old movie theaters. They had film in the projectors. Our subconscious mind is this film which is being projected into our reality, into what our life is. So anything that's kind of fragmented, any noise that's in our mind is on the film and is interrupting what picture that we're seeing. As you start to heal the emotional content, the stuff that occupies space and time in your mind, you start to defrag your hard drive in that analogy, or you start to clean up the film and change the film that's running in your projector. And therefore, whatever's being projected into your life, into your reality, must change. To your question, yeah, for sure. Over the years, I've had many experiences. These experiences have gone unchecked and for a period of time. And that's what's caused me to forge this path. That's what's brought me to where I am today doing the work that I do, not in spite of these experiences, but because of them. I'm super, super grateful for the experiences I've had. And over the time, because of these experiences, I've had autoimmune issues, I've had thyroid issues, I've had Hashimoto's, I've had depression, I've had fibromyalgia. While I still have thyroid cancer at the moment, my nodules have shrunk and I've healed a myriad of other conditions that I had going on. I've started to clean up my fragmented hard drive. I've started to change the film in my projector. I've started to clean the noise out of my subconscious mind. Therefore, my reality, my physical body has to change. It has to change to reflect what's going on for me internally.
Well, that's awesome that you've done that.
Yeah.
I'm sort of being funny because sometimes I need laughter to break some of the tension. I don't know why. There's probably a condition for that. I think of Costco. Do you guys have those, by the way, Costco's? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
We do. I've never been to one, but we do have them.
Good, don't go because they're awful. You'll probably need therapy just to recover. The parking lot is never good enough. You can never find the spot, and it's very stressful, and there's a lot of people, and it's crowded at the beginning, and you have to show a membership card. It's not like the library where it's peaceful and quiet, tranquil, and there's maybe a fountain. No, it's old people trying to figure out how to buy toilet paper, massive amounts. They have like 5-gallon drums of mayonnaise. Okay, I'm being exaggerated. The point is it's a very stressful thing. And anytime my wife's like, let's go to Costco, I'm like, I have to go anywhere but there.
Yeah.
She's like, you want to go to the dentist? I'm like, I would rather go there than Costco. I hate Costco.
From the sounds of it, I would too.
Yeah, you're not missing anything. You can't fix these things. You can't fix yourself by going to Amazon. You can't fix yourself by going to Costco. You can't fix yourself. It sounds cool in theory. You can't fix yourself by going to the beach. I mean, or can you? Help me understand that maybe a little better.
Great points. I see a lot in the spiritual community, people wanting to change their life and raise their vibration, and they use all this sort of terminology. What they're essentially saying is they want to feel better. Now, I will often say, and for anyone that follows me at any point, you'll hear me say time and time again, I don't care about you feeling better. I want you transformed. And so you can go to Costco and you can spend money. You can go to Amazon and you can spend money. You can go to the beach and chill out. And look, I don't have a problem with any of these things. Spa days where you're having massages or dancing or yoga or whatever it is, that walking in nature, all of these things are fantastic. However, they're not getting to the root cause of what's going on for you. You can feel better or you can transform. Now, to transform, you've got to go to the root cause. Your perception of life is filtered because of what's showing up in your projector. Whatever film you've got playing in your projector and the screen of your reality is going to change the way you see things. So if you've had unresolved childhood trauma, you're going to see things through the lens of this situation isn't safe. I need to feel safe to be okay, instead of knowing that you actually are safe at all times and really going back to these moments and getting to the root cause and loving yourself there and finding how it's actually served you. Whatever you have been through in this life, your challenges are for you and for you alone, and they are there to help you to become the most magnificent version of you that is possible. Just coming back to the first point of kind of that escapism that we all play in, and whether it be watching a movie or television or going to the beach or something to distract us, it's actually not enough to get to the root cause, to truly heal and to change how you show up in the world and how your world shows up for you. Our world is the way it is, not because it is that way, but because we see it that way. Have you ever been somewhere with someone, you've both experienced the same thing, you've had completely different perspectives on that same experience?
Yes. Do you want an example of one?
Short
That was it?
yes.
All right. Yes.
So we don't see the world as it is. We see it based on our belief system, on our past perceptions, on our past traumas, on our unhealed emotional content. And so we have all of these filters in front of or in that projector that are changing the way we see life. They're changing our reality. If we can just remove some of those filters or change some of those filters, then we get to see life in a more objective way, how it truly is. And how it truly is that every experience has positives and negatives, every single one. But our brain tricks us and our brain shows us just half of the situation. It'll show us automatically as we experience something, our brain says, okay, this is either a positive event or a negative event, and it labels it that, and it's stored in our body. The truth of the matter is that every situation actually has both. The key to doing this work and to understanding and to healing is actually going back to these events that we label negative, traumatic, holy moly, what the hell happened, and look at them through a different lens. Because when you look at them through a different lens and you can see, oh my God, I can see how that served me. Oh my God, I can see how that contributed to X, Y, and Z. You start to change the way that you actually see your entire world. And instead of needing to be safe or needing certain things to show up in a certain way, you become free, you become more grateful, your life transforms, you heal, you transform. It's truly the most beautiful experience. It's the most beautiful experience to take something that you hated, to take something that you just wanted to get rid of, either out of your history or about yourself. And we all have things that we don't like about ourselves, but to take that thing and to love it and to truly love it, not just sit here and say, oh, I'm going to love this thing, I'm going to love this part of me, and I'm going to see the gratitude in it. No, really go in there until you click, until you really have that kind of holy crap balls. I don't know whether I'm allowed to swear or not, because I swear a lot. You can start to see things in just the most magnificent light. You know, you really start to shine the light into those dark spots. Magic happens. Magic happens.
Did you grow up afraid of the dark?
I did, actually.
I bring that up because I did too. Even to this day, I really struggle if it's really dark, I really struggle. Like I have to have a flashlight on. The way my work schedule is, I leave before my wife does in the States. Sometimes the way the time change works is it's really dark. It's dark in our room. I wear an Apple Watch. My wife does too. I turn on the flashlight on the Apple Watch, which is fantastic, by the way. And I did some research that the red light on the Apple Watch comes on automatically, and it's better for the light. It's better for your eyes. It actually helps you adjust better when it's a red light, which is weird.
100%.
It's like a dark room kind of thing. I think there's people right now who might be listening to Jill saying, first off, we appreciate what she shared. Okay, that might be me, maybe, but probably not. But maybe, because they're in denial. That's why I said maybe, maybe not. Maybe they're not afraid of the dark like you and I were. Maybe they're okay being in the dark because they're like, well, if I'm in the dark, I'm hidden. I don't have to look at that thing that happened to me. My cousins, and this is not anything I'm sharing that's new, they've been on the show, were sexually abused by their dad. And I remember saying to somebody recently that had happened to them. They didn't know that. They said, well, wait a second. You're saying their dad did that to them? Yeah, he did. And it was awful. It was horrific. I'm not a woman. I can't even imagine what that feels like. But I just know that if somebody did that to my daughter, they wouldn't be breathing. So we'll just say that and then move on. There's a sense of darkness that comes over people that they like being in the dark. They like staying hidden. They like it when it's in the dark. They can put it in the dark. No one can see it. It's hidden. It's gone. It sounds like you've done a lot of work in this area. Sounds like you've had a lot of health stuff that you've walked through, by the way. So we'll pray that you can walk free of cancer one day and maybe be free of that. How did you get to the point, I guess, where you're no longer afraid of the dark? It sounds like there's some dark areas in Jill's life that you're like, no longer, I'm going to turn on the flashlight. I'm going to have a arbitrary flashlight here. On that flashlight, and I'm going to get out of the darkness because that's not serving me. That's not helping me. I'm done. I'm out. Gone.
I was afraid of the dark when I was little. Now I absolutely am totally okay with the dark. It depends on how you're using the dark. You're okay with being in the dark because you're not wanting to look at your stuff, you're hiding, these type of things. Then it comes back to the escapism. It comes back to you're not living your fullest life. So many of us have given away our power and given away our brilliance at a young age. When we're young, we want to be accepted. We want to be loved. I mean, we need people in our lives to help us to survive. And so it's a survival instinct to start to hide these parts of ourselves that we fear either won't be accepted, won't be loved, or we come to learn we're not okay holding in terms of the brilliance, that we're not valuable enough to hold on to our light. In this work that I do, I take people into the dark. The only way to get to the light is through the dark. You can keep trying to be a better version of yourself and try and heal become this greater version and love all the good bits. But the shadow's still there. The dark parts are still there. They don't go anywhere, and they're still controlling your life until you go in and heal them. My work is a journey of going into the dark and through the dark and coming out the other side of it. And when you can love your darkness, when you can love, whatever it is, whether it's past traumas, past emotional baggage, things that you don't like about yourself, when you can go and love all of that, you become more light. You step into the light. You're no longer afraid of the dark. You're okay being you. And then it's twofold. We also want to love the brilliance that we've given to people. I like to use the term, you spot it, you got it. We are all reflections of each other, and whatever we're seeing in someone else is within us. In some context, it's always there every time. It's 100% a mathematical equation. And so if you spot something in someone that you don't like, that's your stuff to own. If you spot something in someone you do like, that's your stuff to own. So many of us, we look at celebrities, we look at gurus, we look at, sports people, and we think, wow, you're so brilliant, you're so talented, you're so intelligent, you're so gorgeous. And this is within us. This is all within us. We learn at an early age to give our power away. We do. We give our power away. Instead of walking in our shoes, we give our shoes to other, to use an analogy for your program. Instead of owning who we are in our own shoes, we start to walk in other people's, and we start to become this version of ourselves that doesn't actually exist. Walk through life wearing a mask. We don't want to go into the dark. We walk through life wearing a mask because we're scared to shine our light. I find truly that as many people are afraid of the darkness, they're also afraid of their light. and showing up in the world and shining. It's sad. I mean, it is what it is. And some people will go through life and never heal those parts of themselves, and that's okay. Some people get to generally around their 30s, 40s and start to crack and crumble, and they call that a midlife crisis. But actually what it is, it's the true self trying to come through. It's the true parts of you trying to shine through and trying to be revealed. The universe is always wanting to bring us back to our authentic self, who we truly are under all the programming that we've acquired through this lifetime. That comes from loving our dark. That comes from loving our light.
Do you ever wish you could time travel? I know I'm asking very bizarre questions. Are you afraid of the dark? Do you like time traveling?
I love it.
I love the movie Back to the Future. Is why I bring it up.
Yeah.
I often ask people, and it drives my wife batty, so that's why I continue to do it, because it makes her excited and batty. She's like, be original. Come on with another question. I love the question and the idea of being able to time travel back to middle school me, specifically 8th grade Neil. See, 8th grade Neil wanted to die. I took about 40 Advil thinking somehow in my mind, 8th grade mind, not fully developed, obviously, that I would die. There was this guy named Jim that came along and actually sucker punched me in the stomach to keep me from trying to ingest more Advil. By the way, all I got was a really bad stomach ache and sent home from camp. Embarrassed. And all along the way, as I drove home from camp, this guy named Brian, who was my camp counselor, went with me home and kind of counseled me and was there with me, was a friend. Older guy, he's probably in college and I was, in middle school. So there's quite an age gap. This guy gave me a cassette tape that tells you how old I am. And it was DC Talk, Free at Last. It was a Christian band, still an amazing band. They're not in existence anymore. Anyway, not the point. But I would go back to him in that car ride. And I not maybe take Brian's place, but I would, sit next to him. Maybe there's 3 seats there in the back seat. And I would just remind him of how much his life is going to look completely different in 2025. That he has a wife that loves him and adores him. He has a daughter that's snooty and has attitude, but she's pretty awesome. He lives in an amazing house. He has a podcast, which he probably wouldn't even know what that is, but I would tell him it's like a mixtape, but cooler. I mean, I would tell him all the things he has to look forward to, but you said something, and Jill, it doesn't often happen. And you did this, so I credit you for this. You said, maybe I messed it up, so if I did, feel free to correct me. There is good and there's bad at the same time, and they're both okay. I don't see that in that moment. Blech, vomiting on you a little bit. Sorry, clean the carpet. We'll pay for that. But how in that moment in 8th grade, as I describe, is there good and the bad at the same time, and they're both okay? I don't understand that.
Well, right here, right now, you're telling me this story. You're telling me this story of Brian driving you home. You're telling me this story of Jim, was it? Sucker punching you in the stomach. How is that not good? We've got moments in our life. There's still pain around this event. If you had a time machine, you would go back and you would change that event to a degree. You might not stop yourself from taking the Advil, but you would sit in the back seat and you would assure yourself that everything's going to be okay. But you know what? You already knew that because you didn't try again. A deep part of you, call it your soul, call it your higher self, call it whatever, and knowing that you were going to be okay. And even if you felt like rubbish at that point, you felt embarrassed, you were like, ugh, I've just made things worse. Whatever was going on for you, there was still a deep knowing that you were going to be okay. In that moment where you're at your worst, you're at rock bottom, you're trying to end things, in comes Jim to help you. Now, if that's not love coming in to help you, and Brian driving you home and having these conversations and counseling you on the way home, if that's not the other side of the coin, I don't know what is.
Okay, you might be onto something.
Good and bad are the 2 sides of the same coin. Light and dark are 2 sides of the same coin. Everything has a complementary opposite, and these things aren't able to happen without the other side. If you can, and your listeners can start to train themselves to, in any moment, find the other side, they will move through life in a very different way.
That's the trouble I have truly with suicide. I don't get it. And here's why is yes, in my mind, I probably knew I probably wasn't going to really kill myself. But I didn't know that. I mean, I really didn't. Like, I wanted to die. Like, I didn't want to breathe any longer. This last school year, my daughter had a classmate take his life. He was only a sophomore, a 10th grader. And my mind at 44 doesn't understand that, doesn't understand the pain that he must have been under. I don't know him personally. I don't get it.
But you do get it.
Do I though?
Yeah, you were there. And this is the thing. It's hard to see this happening when you've experienced the same, and you want to help take their pain away. You want to help them avoid that pain that you felt. You were there. You've been there. I've been there. We know what it feels like to feel like there's no other way out. I think you get it more than most. While it might not make sense from a human perspective, looking at it through the lens of, oh my God, this kid killed himself. I get that. I get that fully. This is what spurs me on to do the work that I do. I feel like there's so much pain in the world that I'm not going to say doesn't need to exist, because I do believe that our challenges are there for us to grow. I do believe that our challenges are there to help us to become the greatest versions of ourselves. And there will be a ripple effect from that boy. I don't know who's listening. I don't know how spiritual you are, but I do zoom out and I do look at things from a soul perspective, from a collective perspective. When my brother suicided in 2019, I was devastated, of course. And really quickly, I felt the most profound level of unconditional love that I've ever felt in my life. And he changed the trajectory of my life and my work. I am grateful for him giving me that gift. There's going to be a lot of people listening that don't get that, and that's okay. But this is what's available to people. I can't change it. I can't change what happened. It happened that way because it had to happen that way. Otherwise, it would have happened a different way. And just like this boy in high school doing the same thing, you can sit there and say, oh, it shouldn't have happened like that. Well, it did happen like that. And you can stay stuck in the pain, or you can see what gift did he give to you in that moment. You can look at things as if they're tragic and awful and nothing else, or you can look at them through a different lens. And there is always a different lens.
But isn't that like a Pollyanna type concept? You know what I'm talking about? You ever seen
Nope.
that movie Pollyanna?
Okay. I know exactly what you're referring to. If you were to sit there and say, look, everything happens for a reason and, we're just going to whatever, flippant. No, the work that I do, we actually go into each event and we keep going with what are the positives? What are the benefits? How did this serve? What's the ripple effect? And we really pull each event apart until it's like, oh my God, I can see it. It didn't occur to me in that moment where I heard about my brother that he's just changed the trajectory of my life. And oh my God, I'm so grateful. No, that's not how it happened. I very quickly felt the profound level of love. And then some months later, I had shock go through my body. Some months after that, I started to do the work around it, and I started to pull it apart and look at the dynamics that were playing out, how it impacted me, how it impacted my mother, how it impacted my nephews, what was the growth opportunity here, what was the benefit, how did it serve? And it took a little bit of digging. I realized that I would not have this level of understanding that I do about life and the dynamics in this universe that we live in. I would not have the ability to help people through the most tragic of circumstances had this not happened. Now, he shot his girlfriend and then he killed himself. So it wasn't he just suicided. It was next level. And I never thought I would experience that in my lifetime. Like I said, the shock at the time I heard, but then it also came through me months later because it was such a profound, crazy thing to happen that I never in a million years thought that this would happen. I can honestly sit here with my hand on my heart and say thank you to him. If you can get yourself to that place, you are free. You are free of everything that holds you back. You are free of all of the hurt, all of the pain. I can see how this dynamic has played out. I've zoomed out of the matrix and kind of looked at it from an aerial view, I guess. And I can see all the parts and I can see all the players and I can see how these parts have moved around on the chessboard kind of thing. And it's like, wow. And that will be there for the family of that boy too. That will be there for the students that were friends with that boy. That will be there for, it goes on and on and on. You're telling me this story now. There is significance in this. There is beauty in this somewhere for people to find. We can choose to find it, or we can choose to stay in the pain, get on Amazon, stay in the dark, stay scared of the dark, or we can choose to be free.
I think that's why people want to stay. You mentioned a 4-letter word. Now I know you're trying not to swear. I've heard Australians have the worst mouth, by the way. I'm just kidding. I've never heard that. But
if I'm anything to go by, absolutely.
If you're the mark. I was just trying to be a little lighthearted. I felt like we were a little tense. Again, see, I'm bad at that. I need to work on that. You did say a 4-letter word there that I don't think if you noticed you said, because you said a lot, and it was really good, by the way. I loved your heart there. I loved hearing your heart. But you said it takes work. I think by nature, most people are lazy. I have been podcasting now for 6 years. We can say that. Yay, 6 years.
Woo-hoo!
I was in a group called Rocket, probably like a year into podcasting. I hooked up with these people on social media. We were all kind of in this collective group together, and we were all working towards the same goal. We were going to help network everyone, and we were going to, do all this stuff and mastermind and blah, 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 blah. And you had to pay in, by the way, to be in this group. It was elite. Felt like I got hoodwinked, speaking of. Setting that pain aside, of that group, I think there's 3 of us that I follow, because I followed everyone. I mean, that's what you did. I don't know how many followed me, but I followed everyone because I was inspired, and I wanted them to be inspired. And my natural love language is words of affirmation, because I want words of affirmation given to me. So that's usually what we speak, is what we want spoken to us.
Yeah.
So I followed everybody.
Yep.
And I think of the people I still follow, there's 3 of us. I'm one of the 3, maybe 4. That are still doing it.
Yep.
Because it takes work. I have a friend of mine in North Carolina, a few friends. I have one friend in particular. She's like, I'm blown away that you're still going. I said, Jody, that's her name. Shout out Jody. It takes work. It takes work. It takes work finding people. It takes work editing. It takes work doing the episode. It takes work. This doesn't just show up and it's done. It takes work.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what I'm relating the work you're talking about to. Because that's, again, a point of reference for me. Is it does take work.
And thank you for asking. Thank you for pointing that out. Life is hard at times, and it takes work either way. It takes work either to escape that thing, or it takes work to heal that thing. I just love this metaphor, and I don't know whether you've heard about this or not. Apparently, when there's a storm coming, cows and buffaloes can both sense that there's a storm coming. And the cow runs away from the storm. It ends up spending a lot more time in the storm because it's trying to escape the storm. And it runs and runs and runs until it gets tired, and then it collapses, and it ends up spending nearly all of its time in the storm. That's hard. That's work. The buffalo turns and runs directly toward the storm. And it's hard, and that's work, but it runs through the storm. And it runs through the storm really quickly, and it ends up spending far less time in the storm. And that's what I'm talking about here. There's going to be work either way, work to avoid it or work to go into it. It's going to be hard either way, hard to avoid that thing that you don't want to see, or hard to go through and work it and love it and heal it. Choose your hard, because you're either going to spend all of your life in the storm, in pain over something that's happened in your life that you cannot or will not let go of and love, or you can go head on into it. You can find how it served you. You can find how to love it, and you can move through to the other side and become free of it. So I get it. Sometimes it feels easier to avoid the thing, but it doesn't. It's controlling your life. And you don't even realize how much, because it's so subconscious. It's so below the surface that you have no idea that it's even there. You turn, you go through the storm, you run straight at it, and you are free. If you can love the unlovable, you are free.
I think that's the problem. None of us want to look in the mirror. That old Michael Jackson song, Man in the Mirror. We don't want to look in the man or the woman in the mirror. I think we're afraid of the reflection. So we take down all the mirrors, hoping we don't have to look at it.
Many don't. But the problem is, every person that comes into your life, your reality around you is a reflection of you anyway. You don't need a physical mirror. Got these metaphorical mirrors all around you. If your life sucks, if your life is not what you want it to be, if the people around you are triggering you, that is your mirror. You cannot avoid it. You cannot escape it. All you can do is try, or be the buffalo and heal.
Or be a buffalo.
Be the buffalo? What? What's this Aussie on about? Do they even have buffaloes in Australia?
Has she even
We
seen
don't.
a buffalo? Has she even been to Montana? Has she even been to
I
New
have.
York? There's Buffalo, New York, by the way, where the Buffalo Bills play. Ah, there it is. Well, Jill,
I've
love
been
it.
to the US about 15 times now.
We're
the US.
not impressed, obviously. We didn't
All-
impress you?
Yeah. Growing up in Australia, we grew up on American TV shows as well as Australian ones. Yeah, it was just a thing for me. Yeah, I think it's 15 times now, and I do love it there. It's not dissimilar to Australia in many aspects. I have seen buffalo in the wild in the States.
So she can attest to her buffalo analogy.
I can.
How can someone connect with you if they want to know your work, if they want to know how, if they're like, okay, I'm ready. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm going to get ready. I'm going to use this new year, new me. How can they get in touch with you and what's the best way?
In every moment, we have an opportunity to be a new you. You don't have to wait for a new year. You don't have to wait for a new day, a new month, a new anything. Change can happen at any point. Best way is probably via my website, jillogle.com. You're welcome to find me on Instagram. You're welcome to find me on Facebook. jillogle.com will get you started, and I'll send you the links of how you can connect with me on socials. Reach out. Life is beautiful if you look at it that way. Again, I'm not talking about Pollyanna. I'm not talking about lip service. I'm talking about actually transforming the way you see yourself and the way you see the world around you. It's possible. It's available for anyone. I don't care who you are, what you've experienced, what you think about yourself, what shames you have, what guilts you have, whatever. You can change your life and you can change it on a dime. It doesn't have to be however it is for you right now, forever.
I love that. Jill, how many of these shows have you done? You seem very articulate. You're very centered. Know your stuff. How many of these podcast things have you been a part of?
I've actually only been on, I think maybe 4 over the years. Just haven't had a focus around being on podcasts. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy sharing my wisdom. I enjoy unpacking and getting this message out there. Yeah, it's definitely a focus at the moment. I mean, this is my work, so it's my life work. It's what I'm here to do. I was born for this work, and my brother helped me realize that.
A lot of brotherly love there. Jill, we're doing this thing now at the end of our show. It's called Heal Hustle, and it's the fastest growing game in the podcast space and community. So are you ready to play Heal Hustle?
Let's go.
All right, here we go. Zach's going to take it away. Zach?
It's now that time in the show to play the fastest growing game in the podcast world. We call it Heal Hustle. Today our guest will try to answer all 6 of these questions in 60 seconds or less to win an Amazon gift card. Amazon not responsible for this commercial spot, nor did they pay to let us use their name. Audience, feel free to play at home. Are you ready? Let's put 60 seconds on that clock. Ready, set, hustle!
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
All right, 60 seconds. Here you go. One person you would trade places with for a week.
Jesus.
What is one of the favorite things you like to do that makes you feel like you're walking on air?
Spend time with my puppy.
Nice. What is a comment that seemed to just fit you just perfectly?
Shit. That's not the comment.
All right, we'll pass.
That's not the
All right, we'll come back to that one maybe if we have time. What is the worst comment you've ever been given that didn't seem to fit right for you?
Yeah, I can't really. I guess for that, like for the one previously, I'm going to say Phoenix Rising. For this one, I'm going to say not really anything, because if someone says something to you and it sticks, then they're actually pointing to a truth that you don't want to see.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep, actually. It's very deep. What is one skill you wish you were better at, or you could tie up and make it prettier if you could make that skill prettier?
I would love to be really great at skating. Roller skates. I would love to be great at roller skating. I can skate, but I'm...
Like, are we talking the quad or the blades?
Yeah, like the four, the 4 wheels.
Okay, the 4 wheels.
Or even ice skating or rollerblading, any of those things. I would actually, even skateboarding, I would love to be better at those things.
No judgment, maybe a little bit. Let's see, our last one. What is something that never fails to make you kick your heels up with laughter?
Oh man, I just love memes on the internet in tough times. It just seems to be, we had the COVID period, we had the election period, and there just seems to be like the most incredible funny people making these incredible memes. They just never fail.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was Heel Hustle. Jill, again, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you giving up your time. We do not want to ever not acknowledge that, because it is time that you could be spending doing who knows what, healing other people or helping other people heal. And you spent some time with us today. Hopefully others were healed by hearing you. See what I did there? Just wanted to say thank you for that.
That is my hope too, that someone hears this, and even just if they crack open a little bit to the possibility of a transformation, then that's all I can hope for. Very, very grateful to be on the show. Very grateful for your energy and humor and lightheartedness, and for sharing so much with me. Go Aussie.
I thought you were going to say like go heels. That would have been amazing, but you have no idea what the Tar Heels are or anything about them. But it would have been amazing if you just like read my bio somewhere and been like, oh, and I'm supposed to say go heels. It's fine. It's Michael Jordan went there. It's fine. All right, guys and gals, kids and campers alike. That is it. That is all. That is our show today. Those stinking Aussies, you know, just, they get me every time. Did you follow what she said? Did you hear it? Listen, I know for some of us, listen, when I say spiders, you just jumped. When I said I was afraid of the dark, you nodded your head sort of quietly to yourself. Like, yeah, that's me too, Neil. So what are you going to do with what she said? Have you taken the time to examine and to x-ray your heart and to your soul, and to look at the deformities and the things that are going wrong in your life? Like, how long is it going to be till you finally say, okay, enough is enough. I'm ready. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to get free. We had a season a while back called Take Flight. It's one of my favorite season names that we've had, because I do love to fly. Now, I've gotten over that fear. I didn't used to. It took time. It took work. But are you ready to run towards the storm like the buffalo? Or are you going to be like a cow and cow down and bow down and fall down and stay down? Let me know if you're ready to get free. Jill want to know too, by the way. We could let her know too. You can let us know at opspodcast.com. You can let us know on the socials at OPS Podcast Show on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. X. And don't forget this before we go. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned till next week when we walk in other people's shoes.